Introducing Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Nose to Tail podcast. I'm Patrick Kraus with Jet Midwest. We're here discussing everything related to aviation. In case you've missed it, join us for the highlights of the Nose to Tail podcast, and you can like and subscribe on our YouTube page. I always like to ask everybody, what their favorite aircraft is and why. And so I'd love to hear what you have from an engine guy's perspective.
So
I was spot here.
No, it's fine. I was actually once asked, I was on a panel when someone was talking about engines and they said, hey, so which is your favorite aircraft, and why and which engines? My answer was actually, it doesn't really matter. It's the one with the most comfortable seats, which is still holds true. But that kind of gets me to where my favorite aircraft is probably the A380, which a lot of people wouldn't say. I'm sure a lot of people are saying 747s or whatever. The 380 for me, it was the first time I ever flew in first class. So that was obviously great, and a Middle East product as well. So that was great from Etihad. And then also the product in Emirates that you're referring to. I mean, what a great way to spend your trip, right? You go to the back, you sit at the bar, and you have a few beverages, meet a whole bunch of cool people, wherever you're flying to. So that's why the A380 is my favorite aircraft, I would say.
I always ask everybody what their favorite aircraft is and why, and I get lots of good answers, but I'd love to hear from you what it is and why it's so important maybe to you, maybe part of your career.
Sentimentally, it's the L-1011, the biggest commercial flop in aviation, right? But it's a beautiful airplane, and it was a commercial aircraft that was designed and built to military spec. The thing was super indestructible and way ahead of its time in its avionics and its systems, which made it a beast to maintain and contributed to its financial demise. But I grew up flying on that plane. Eastern had the biggest fleet. I think they were the launch customer for the L-1011, if I'm not mistaken, with Jet Midwest. One of my early deals before we switched over to consumables, Jet Midwest, and Paul and I bought a bunch of Delta's fleet of L-1011s and tore those down. And for a good long while, Dassey was the L-1011 supplier in the market. So that was fun. So I think there's always a soft spot in my heart for that airplane.
That's awesome. I remember going through some records one time and they were showing the fuel consumption burn, right? They have the chart that shows how the efficiency is. And I forget the exact number, but you see the efficiency nice and plateaued out, and it gets to a certain hour limit, like 12, and it just drops right off because those engines were less than fuel efficient. They were having to tanker if they had to go past that hour limit. But that's awesome. I do remember those airplanes. One of those airplanes, I believe in a Mojave Storm, ended up with its ass down and nose up in the air because of that tail engine.
I was trying to leave.
Yeah, it was definitely trying to get out of the desert.
And one of those planes was the prop plane in the TV show Lost.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Things I've learned. Did you get paid on that one?
Paul did. I don't think that.
You probably.
Yeah, I think that.
You didn't kick back nothing?
No. I'm going to take that up with him, actually.
Yeah, you might need to do that.
So if you go back to Northwest, they used to fly the Avrojet, the little 4-engine, kind of a beast. For me, it was a visual thing back in the day. And then just that aircraft, that style, the way it looked, that was a pretty cool aircraft. I know it was expensive to run, heavy, and, gas guzzler and all that. But it was a fun one to look at, and never flew one, but I enjoyed it, looking at it. But I'd say today, as far as, I guess across the board, it'd probably be like a Black Hawk helicopter, something fun like that. Again, we support the helicopter market too. A lot of floats. We do, inflatables for those. Gosh, interesting question. But I would say on the jet side, probably like the older Falcon 50, Falcon 900, something like that. Those are cool.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've given it. I love the fact you deviated off into the helicopter side, which I completely didn't realize you guys were working on those. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we support a lot of the oil rigs down along the coast there in New Orleans, Lafayette, petroleum helicopters, ERA. Do a lot of float work out of our facility in Texas.
If you've got the opportunity to call out a favorite, which one would it be?
Yeah, difficult question just because, as you understood, I'm more focused on engines. So because of that, I would select the 777, even Dash 300, because G9115. Wow. And testing such an engine in a test cell, I had the chance to work on that. There is a lot of parameters to consider. interference between fan case, prop. I don't want to be too technical, but on physics side, we are at the limit of a lot of things. So physics is investigating in a lot of points with this technology. So probably in the coming years we will have new technologies, whatever, but I will always remember when I first met this engine, wow, learning, amazing, like a kid. So this would be the 777 because of the engine itself.
That's very fair. I heard this, and I'm pretty sure that it's correct, that the each GE90 engine has more thrust than the Apollo rockets did that took man to the moon, which is pretty amazing. And they strap 2 of them to this airplane, and they take off and land every 8 to 12 hours and turn around an hour later and do it again. So you're correct. The physics is pretty wowing. Somebody was talking to me about the 747-8. It's almost 1 million pounds maximum takeoff weight. To think about 1 million pounds, flying at 600 miles an hour at 40,000 feet and flying for 20 hours, it's amazing to me to think about, human beings made this thing go. It's pretty wild.
Ours is a 777. And there's a lot of reasons. One is the Lord's number, but 2 is those ducts are large, they're expensive, and they're easy to fix. And I shouldn't have said that.
Well, I love it. My favorite aircraft is the 757.
The engineering on that aircraft for the ducting part of it, which is what we see, is actually really efficient, and we really like it. And 7 inches of titanium, and you spray it gold, and they wrap the blankets and you just tie them with a bow tie. It was like you look at other aircraft that come out of France or whatever in that same size family of aircraft. Totally way more complex, but it doesn't have to be. That aircraft is very efficient at what it does, and we really love that aircraft. We love when those parts show up. We know how to fix them, how quick to get them done. We've got everything in stock to support that aircraft for a number of years now, and so that's the one we really like.
My favorite aircraft is the Piper Cub. The old Piper Cubs, cloth, 2-seater, tail up, 2 wheels, 1 engine. If it goes, it goes. If it fails, it glides. To me, it's a beautiful plane. Sitting in front of a hangar somewhere, it could just sit there. And to me, that's probably my favorite. My second favorite would be a Cessna, a small Cessna that we flew in. My father and I flew in. And the bigger aircraft, not big fans, but love the engines.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well,
it's strange. It's
we run into this with a lot of people that we talk to here on Nose to Tail is you often get engine guys and airframe guys, and I'm kind of an airframe guy. I let my engine folks run and do their expertise, and it's interesting how we all kind of live on our side of the fence. We wave to each other. We're nice.
Yep.
Give you a
We
cup of sugar.
play every once in a while.
Every once in a while, we're in the same ballpark, but for the most part, it is interesting how people kind of stick with that one genre.
Yeah, that's one thing I have never experienced was the airframe more. It's always been engines.
Well, I've always used one airline because it's convenient from where I live to get to every place that I need to be. And I'm always happy that it's the plane that takes off and comes back. What the plane is, not a big fan. When I see the guy in the yellow vest get on, my first thought is, well, there's that flight. We're screwed now. Now I'm going to sit here for another 4 hours. So I'm happy about the taking off and landing part.
All right.
Yeah.
If you had a choice.
Yes. If I had a choice, which one would I pick?
Choice, what would you pick?
737.
737.
Yeah. Although I've taken a few flights to Asia on my own for vacation and in Europe, and I do like the reclining, sleeping kind of pod thing.
I'm going to have to say it's a 747. I think I understand her better, and I think that she's been the workhorse. I know that's changing, but she's been the workhorse in this industry for so long. And whether it was getting on one to go across the ocean when you're going to be an exchange student and it feels like the biggest thing you've ever been in. And
that's pretty awesome.
And we're mostly a Boeing shop. We do some Airbus, but I love it when I get on an airplane and people hear different noises and you go, it's normal. And they just look at you like, who are you?
That's fine. It's fine. They got a backup plan.
It's like, yeah, but I like the prop planes too. They're Dash 8. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's small, but we go from Greensboro to Charlotte in those sometimes. So,
yeah.
But
it's a different noise level.
It is.
Right?
It's a different story, and people go, "There's propellers on this thing. Are we safe?" And you get, yeah. You're
fine.
But
well, that's awesome. Well, I could have guessed based on how the interview went that you probably that soft spot for the 747. Which, listen, I can totally understand.
Well, it's my career.
So I'm curious, Elizabeth, if you could pick a favorite aircraft, what would you pick and why would you pick it?
I picked the Boeing 707, and I would pick it because it's a sexy aircraft. When you look at it from nose to tail, it's one mean-looking aircraft.
Carol, tell us, what is your favorite aircraft?
Well, I think I have to say it's a 757. I would probably get in trouble if I don't say that. It is what takes me back and forth to Iceland, where my husband is from. So
I love the 757 as well. I fell in love with the product itself. It's built really well from a component supply chain. It's got some very robust pieces to it. So to be able to support that for, a decade plus has been a lot of fun. And the clientele that we've been able to meet and deal with, there's all these great clients. There's a million of them out there. And the fact they got converted to freighters, gave them that extra 20 years of life and allows us to spend more time with those folks versus a passenger product line that, after 20 years maybe goes out of service with some of these major operators. So I too love the 757. It's the one I normally pick.
business-wise, it has been also very good for me. I like working on it. It has a ton of clients, like we just mentioned. It's a fun aircraft. Flying wise, I would have to say 777. It's just comfortable, nice. You get in there and you. But my favorite plane is the 757.
Even when you mention it, I think about Batman and Gotham City, and then City Hall and this Art Deco, and I think about. I just got goosebumps thinking about that. Or the front of a really cool Art Deco train from the 30s locomotive, And the DC-3 fit that for me. I just love the curves and the voluptuousness of it. And then it can at once kind of be chubby. And then when I got to know more about it, I loved the looks first and foremost. And then it was the first plane, I think, in the world designed, the first plane that could haul enough people and pay for itself and not have to be subsidized.
Right.
So 22 or 24 people, and it paid its own way and kind of revolutionized everything, right? And then learning about the role it played in World War II. So it just kind of checked every box, It was like first of many things, the way it looked, how tough it is and how it can take a punch and keep going,
Well, it's pretty easy for me. I lived on a UE for 4 years. So my favorite aircraft is a UE. I've always would love to have been able to fly one, but I know that aircraft pretty intimately. I helped with avionics when I was on there, helped with hydraulics when I was there. We kind of worked as a team. And I also flew with ex-Vietnam pilots, and they tried to scare the crap out of you when you fly with them. And they did some crazy stuff with them. So it's a little different than getting on a commercial airliner and sitting in a chair for 5 hours flying somewhere, right? This was something I got to be part of. Well, I can hear a UE coming from miles away. All I have to do is listen to the blades chop. The UE has a very unique, because it's just a single rotor, right? All the newer ones have 4 and 6 rotor heads. So this is just that single rotor, and you can hear it pop, pop, pop. Like you ever watch MASH? That's the sound they make when they come roaring in there, right? But yeah, that would be my pick, just because I'm so intimate with that aircraft and have so many. I got about 350 hours in it the 4 years I was in. So,
Jeff, what do you think? What's your favorite aircraft?
I'm old school. Come on, I'm old school. 747. You got 4 engines, big airplane, pushes through the air. They don't go down; they just fly.
They just go.
If you lose an engine, who cares?
They keep going. Yeah,
keep going. So that's all I know. I know the 2-engine aircraft is the way of the future and how it's happening. And basically, they could fly with 1 engine. Those damn things got switch power nowadays. So, but back in the day, the 4-engine airplane was where it was at, and that's kind of what I still gravitate to.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Nose to Tail. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Presented by Jet Midwest.